Yeah, so Alex, the podcast is Never Broke Again, and what we'd like to do is talk to you how you transitioned. Andrew was telling me how you went from Wall Street to I was seeing you're like in a not you don't call yourself a magician, you call yourself more of a mentalist and an illusionist. So we felt like it'd be very inspiring to you made that transition to basically become a whole new.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's super cool. Like you basically went from one extreme to the other. I mean, how did you what like sparked you to like leave Wall Street to just be like, yeah, become an illusionist?
So we're starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started.
What inspired you? What
uh,
inspired you?
Look, I mean, to start from the beginning, I never wanted to do something that would not make me money. Like as I was growing up, I loved movies, so I was always watching Boiler Room. I was watching what was it, Wall Street, those type of movies. So I was like, you know what, I'm in New York City. I think that's a cool move to make, to become a stockbroker. So that's what I'm gonna do because that's where the money's at. So I chased the money. That was the number one mistake that I made. So, um, a lot of people might think otherwise. A lot of people might think that you'll fall in love with what you do once you're doing it. It wasn't the case for me. I was never like that in school. So if I didn't like a subject, I could not fall in love with it no matter what. Right? Maybe it had to do with the teachers not making it interesting, but I couldn't interest myself. So, long story short, I left. Well, I started to pursue this dream of becoming a stockbroker. And I realized again that I wasn't loving it. I applied about 15 times to get into, and I was doing financial services before. So I wanted to make more money. I wanted to have more resources. And when you're working for what I work for Merrill Lynch. And I said to myself, well, if I'm there and people know the name, they know that brand, well, I'll be able to make money. I'll be able to sell. But the thing is that, again, you got to love what you do. So I didn't really understand the business so much because I didn't really focus on it as much as I focused on magic because I was still performing during that time because I started doing this when I was 5 years old. Um, and then I had a client that was actually hiring me in Vegas. So I would fly to Vegas. I would do their trade shows. The guy would pay for my flight. He'd pay for my hotels. He'd pay for my show. He'd always give me a show when I would go there. I would always watch somebody new, Copperfield. Then I went back to this boring, depressing New York City in the middle of February. And I'm thinking to myself, I hate what I'm doing. Here I am doing this thing for, they paid me $49,000, I remember, plus commission, plus bonus, whatever it was after.
For
And I was
for,
like, dude, I'm not going to do this thing.
for
No,
one
no, no.
show?
This is at Merrill Lynch, man. This is Merrill Lynch.
Oh yeah.
Screw the show for a second. This was Merrill Lynch. This is what I was
Yeah.
getting paid at Merrill Lynch for the whole year.
Right.
And everyone thought it was all glory and it was all sunshines and rainbows and all when you're in this game of Wall Street. It's not the case, man. You gotta hustle hard. You start at the bottom. You gotta climb your way up. There are millions of rules and regulations, right? But there's no real roadmap as well. You had to bring in a certain amount of money. They're paying you 49K, but your goal was to bring in $10 million a year. How does that make sense, man? How do you got to bring in $10 million worth of business, but you only get paid 49K plus after tax and everything? I remember I looked at my first year's income. I was like, what I make, man? I made like 30 something $1,000 clean. That's it. That's all I made. I'm capped out, man. I can't go on a vacation that I want. I can't buy the car that I want. I got to work backwards now. Here's what I'm getting paid, at 1386 a week or every 2 weeks. Multiply that by two. Then I got to work backwards if I want to afford this. I couldn't even get an iPhone. I had to get a used phone, and here I am on Wall Street. After that, of course, with the bonus and commission, you make more. But that, this corporate America, this thing where I immigrated here from Russia. My father always told me, he goes, well, Alex, what you have to do is you have to do something prestigious because that's what they always did, right? Everyone in my family is a doctor of some kind. My dad is a physicist. He's a math genius. So I couldn't go into something that was bullshit like magic. That's the way they saw it. They're like, what are you going to do? Magic tricks for kids for a living, man? That's how, it's not, how's that honorable? So, anyways, my parents wanted me to do something really serious so they would stay with my life. And I figured, look, I don't like medicine. I like the stockbroker deal. I'll go into that. Again, the timing was wrong too. Maybe I would have loved this if this was before 2008. Once 2008 kicked in, Obama took office, a lot of rules changed, man, on Wall Street. There's a lot of things you couldn't do. They threw in a lot of acts. Phone act, can't call after this time, can't do this. And the stockbrokers weren't called stockbrokers anymore. They were called financial advisors. It was a sophisticated term for these guys, right? And you couldn't hustle the way you used to before. Everything was capped there. And it's, again, it wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. I remember I had all these fancy suits that I would put on. I'd come into office. My boss would literally call me into his office and would say, "Hey, come here, Alex. What kind of shoes are you wearing? Why are you wearing a green shirt? Why are you wearing a blue blazer?" And I said, "Look, man, I mean, it's just the way I dress." And they used to give me these speeches about how I used to. They didn't like the way I dressed. They didn't like the way that I was. They wanted me to bring business in by staying in the office. Since when can you ever bring in $10 million a year, man, by staying in the office? You got to be out there, man. You got to be out and about. You got to meet people. The whole thing was just, I could not, it was not my thing. Now, were people successful doing it? They were, but they went in at a different time, man. We had a lady, I remember this Korean girl who's absolutely genius. She was making like 300-400 grand before she started working at Merrill Lynch, and they gave her a tier 2 salary, which was, I think, like 70, right under 75K, man. So that game changed completely, Wall Street, and I left, and when I left, I had a mentor, of course, he was always my mentor. Even before he knew he was going to be my mentor, I still looked at him as a mentor because he was a guy that, as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, I didn't know this. He also worked for Merrill Lynch. He was in the tech department, though. He didn't do what I was doing. He didn't deal with finance. And this guy, he left Merrill Lynch to pursue a career in performing arts. And man, he killed it. He was an absolute genius. I called him up. I was like, dude, how'd you transfer, man? How do you do this thing? He goes, I spoke to another guy and he said, well, what does it need for you? What do you need to quit? And he said to him, look, man, if I make 6 figures, I'll quit. And he goes, easily you can make 6 figures, so quit. So he quit. And he went on to do his own thing, man. Now this guy's one of the best mentalists in the country, maybe even the world, man.
Who is it?
Killing it.
Who is it?
Who is it?
Yeah.
You really want to know who it is?
Yeah.
I don't know if
Second
I
to
can
you,
mention
of
his name.
course. What's that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can mention his name. I don't know if I should mention his name.
Okay.
But he
Gotcha.
he is absolutely incredible, though. He's great.
What was your first match?
I'll tell you this. He got on America's Got Talent. He was the only guy that went into the finals without getting I forgot what it was, the golden buzzer or some type of buzzer. He basically went into the finals naturally. Anyways, he took third place at America's Got Talent. So people out there, whoever is watching this, can do the research and find who he was.
Gotcha. What was your first magic trick that you learned? Who taught it to you, or how'd you learn it?
It's a question that's hard to answer. I don't know. I was 5 years old. My uncle showed me a trick. There was a pen that was coming out of his pocket. So he had this pen, and he would put it, or a pencil, and he would put it into his pocket, show that his pocket is empty. He would do these hand gestures like Harry Potter nowadays, right? And then the pen would levitate out. It was incredible. So I asked him to teach me this trick. Before that, there were other tricks. I was too young to remember. That was 5, I remember, when I was doing this one.
Was that in
And
Russia
he
or
taught
in
me. I begged
America?
him. This was here.
In
I
Russia?
moved here when I was 1.
Okay.
So we immigrated here, man. We left the communism when I was 1.
Mhm.
When everything crashed in Russia, that's when we came here, man. We had nothing. We're all cramped up in a studio apartment. I believe it was like 6, 7 of us. My dad was the only guy that worked, and he had a hobby too, man. His hobby was being able to fix anything electrical wise. So he was able to fix radios. He would be able to set up radios. VHS was popular back then. For those who don't know, it was video cassettes. He was a genius at television sets. That was his hobby. He turned that into a business. And that's how he was able to raise us up until we hit 7 years old. And then, since he's a medical guy, that's what he studied in school. He went to the best mathematical institute in Russia. He eventually transitioned. Somebody saw him and said, my father's name is Greg. He goes, Greg, what are you doing selling electronics, man, on Canal Street? Like you gotta do what you're even better at, which is math, physics. That's what you got to do. So that's the route he took. He's a nuclear medical physicist, treats cancer. So, anyways, point is that's the path. I wanted to do something that involved hobbies as well. And I said, Dad, look, if you did electronics, like I could do magic. That's what I wanted to do. This was much later. But again, going back to the first tray, I'm going off topic, was the pen coming out of the pocket. So the pen would come out. It would be a levitating effect. And man, I get a lot of attention on that trick. A lot of attention. People would come up to me, how'd you do that? Who's this guy? What's your name? What do you do? I get a lot of attention. And when you're 5 years old and you're in school, and I went to a school where there were 30, 40 kids in a grade, and you're the most popular one because of a magic act, man, that's brilliant. So I don't know. I guess the mystery is what mystified me. And I just pursued this. I continued to do this. There were times in my life I dropped out of it, right? Because I never knew I was going to do this for a living. I dropped out. So I stopped doing it when I was maybe like 10 again. Then I started, picked it up back up. And then I stopped when I was 16, 17 because I thought that my girlfriend at that time was going to find it corny. Because all the girls I dated, nobody knew that I was a magician and this is what I was doing. A lot of people are like, oh, man, that's an awesome way to pick up girls. My answer to that is maybe. I don't know. I've never done it to pick up girls. I've done it because I loved it.
Yeah. Interesting. It's like a kid playing soccer or baseball, but with you. I feel like
Magic
how many
stuff
how
with
many
me.
kids does that stick with? It's got to be so few.
Look, people ask me when I get a call nowadays, and people ask me about my show and everything that I do. I tell them, look, I say, how many doctors do you know? They say, well, I know a few. I know, I'm like, a few. If you really look at your phone, you look online, you probably know more than a few, right? They're like, yeah, probably
Yeah.
five. I'm like, well, how many magicians do you know? How many people you
Not
got on your
many.
phone who's a magician? There's nobody. you know. So
Yeah.
I guess the art also, and I'm very impatient now. I know I got to be more patient 'cause I got the kids, but I'm more impatient now. And I just remember then I was very patient. What I mean by this is when you're doing a card trick and all the cards fall from your hands, and you got to keep picking them up. You got to have patience, man, because the thing falls two, three times. It's done. Because I was doing it on top of a bed too. Because the bed I didn't have to bend down on the floor, and the cards would skid around, and it's harder. You got to use your nails to pick it up. So if it falls on the bed, you just scoop it back up. You start over. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of practice, mirrors, angles. I mean, audience management is very important, and it's a heavy art. Now, a lot of people don't know this. It's a hard art, and that's why a lot of people are not doing it. And if they do it, they do it like a yo mama joke. They know one or two effects, and that's it.
So you mentioned
What
like
what
when
tricks
you
are you
dropped
working
it,
on
were you
now?
messing up? Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say, what tricks are you working on now? Because you're at the mastery level. So how do you keep getting better and better and better? So you don't. I'm sure it can get boring doing the same tricks over and over.
I'm at a position now where I'm a working guy. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't mean to sound like a stripper, like a working girl, but yeah, I this is what I do. So when I'm performing, the places where I practice are the homes, the corporations, the companies I perform for. That's my field, right? So I practice there. I don't really practice at home so much.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of what am I working on currently, it's not that I'm working so much on effects now as much as I'm working on currently what I have and trying to see how I can make it better, because I have customized versions of what I do too. So I don't just
Mhm.
come in and do a card trick. As a matter of fact, I try to do less of cards unless people are asking me to do cards. Because if you you know I try to be more of the sophisticated performer. I put on a top-notch suit. I come into an organization where I'm about to perform. I give 110% to these people, and way over than how much I should be given. And when I perform the effects that I currently have, what I try to do is I try to tailor this to their company, because now it's leverage. You're not just using me for general entertainment, because that's simple. I can do that. But now I transition now to more of a service performer, I should say. And what I mean by that is I use entertainment as a service. So I'm performing, and I'm providing something that will be more value to them than they thought they were going to receive by just hiring me for general performance. So, for instance, I would help them sell their product, right? So I had a company that would hire me, or maybe I can mention the name. So it's Molten Brown, hired me. They asked me if I can help them sell their lotions, their perfumes, their what was it, bubble bath gels, and I created a plan where I can help them sell this. So people would walk into the room, I would greet them. My hands were empty. I look at them. I'd say hello. And they asked me to do this. They said, "Can you do something with smoke and bubbles?" And I said, "Sure." So I would have a straw and I would blow a bubble, and then I would fill the bubble up with smoke. So that would be cool. It would bounce around. Then I would use my fingers, go right in, straight into the bubble, pop it, and inside there would be a card, a molten brown card. And as soon as I would pop it, and the molten brown card comes out, I say, "Welcome to Molten Brown," and I would give them the card. So that's how we introduce people. So already instantly, right? Like bam, I grabbed the attention. And I would do effects with the lotions and the creams, and I did something where it smelled like I wrapped some gifts, or I forgot exactly what it was, flowers, and then it would smell like one of their perfumes. So now I do those acts, and I help to not just entertain, but I help to sell the product or service. So that's kind of like differentiator now. That's more of what I'm working on, more than actual effects, I should say.
Integration.
I
Have
think
you
the
ever
first
messed
line,
up
like
on
as
a
a
trick?
magician.
Have
Hang
I ever
on, Josh.
messed up?
Yeah, have you ever messed up?
Yeah, all the
Or
time.
what do you do? Do
All
you
the
still
time.
mess up?
No, all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Messing up is just part of the art. All the time you mess up.
Right.
You see, the difference is that usually the art is done. Like I'll give you an example, right? You walk into the Met, you see you see a painting. The painting that you see, some it's worth $5. Then you find out it's worth 5 million. And people don't know what they have no. They're looking at it, they have no idea. Now that person, whoever painted it, do you think they messed up? They probably messed up while they were painting this one in particular. They had to edit a few things. You don't know because you see the final piece. You don't even know how it's supposed to look. Even when you see it, like you ever seen, it's like they took paint and they just threw it at the wall, man. And that thing goes for like $28.5 million. And they're like, how the heck does this thing go for 28.5? Right? Now you look at it, you don't get it, you don't understand. But for all you know, man, that's probably what they did. You don't know. You don't know what the mess up is, right? So what I'm saying is, do I mess up? I mess up all the time. It's just the public, the spectators, they don't know I messed up, right? I
Okay. Is
cover
there
it.
is there a time where you messed up? Do you like recover?
But that's what I'm saying. It's always a recovery.
Okay.
The mess up happens all the time. Every act, everywhere I go, I mess up. And one of the biggest reasons why I would mess up more than the average performer, and this is a good thing actually, is because I'm very bold, right? Like I can look at somebody and say, "Hey man, you're a Libra, right? You're born October." And the thing is, right? And the thing is, a lot of people would would not do that in my field. Like the performers, they'd be like, well, why would you, if you screw up, like you're getting paid to fail. Well, now if you hit, think about that. The reward on hitting is very strong. Because then you walk out, you're like, man, this guy looked at me and he said I'm a Libra. I don't know how, he knew nothing about me. He looked right at me. He said I'm a Libra. He said my birthday is October 11th. Whatever, right? Like I have no idea how he did that. So I take a lot of risk, man. But that's the thing, right? If this is a business and you're running a business, it's risks. So why not do it during the act, man? And if it hits, brilliant. If it works, if it doesn't, find a way to recover. For instance, you're a Libra, right? Born in October. No, yeah, I tested you out, man. I know you're not, right?
You're
It
close.
would have been good though, right?
You're
Close. Now you're
close. No,
giving
no,
me hints.
you got it. You're close.
But now you're giving me hints, right? Right. So a
You're giving
Virgo
him
was good too.
info.
Were you a
Giving him
Virgo your
info.
whole life? And then if it's not that, then I would jump into something else. Point is that I have a way with words. I know how to recover.
Yeah.
You would never know because I could be like, I could take a pen for instance, right? I could take a pen or I could take a phone and a pen and a pad, and I could write down Libra, or I could write down better. You know what? No, I'm gonna write down Sagittarius, right? So I'd write down Sagittarius, And then I would be like, man, you're a Libra, right? And if I get it, you're like, yeah. I'd be like, yeah, I ripped this up. I throw it out.
Yeah.
You don't see that I messed up here. So if I
Right.
say you're a Libra, right? No, I'm not. Oh man, Virgo is good too, right? Oh no, or yeah, it's a Virgo. Yeah, that's exactly what I had. Bam, I throw it.
Ah.
Or oh, Virgo is good too. Nah, man, I'm a Sagittarius. Yeah, I know, dude. I'm testing you out. That's what I wrote, Sagittarius.
Right.
You see, so it's like you gotta. It's a the people that hire me, they have no idea about the effects I'm gonna perform. Nobody says, all right, man, do me a favor, bro. I want you to send me an email with every single effect you're going to perform. Okay, what are you gonna do? Give me the names of the effects, and nobody does that. They call me, we speak. I tell them, look, man, I'll entertain like no one has ever entertained before. Nobody, everyone who's an entertainer is doing it wrong. I'm gonna teach you how it should be done. So people are not hiring me because of the effect. They're hiring me because you are an entertainer. Spectators have no idea. I'm the entertainer. So that's really where that's where you're gonna fly. Anyone in the performing arts, man, where you
Yeah.
really
Like
have
I saw you.
confidence and you're able
Yeah.
to.
So I mean, I saw you at in New York, and
Yeah.
so have you ever gotten? You guessed the name, right? Have you ever gotten the name wrong on the card, or is that, or
Yeah,
you're
of
not? I don't.
course.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
because it's not a magic trick. It's not a magic trick.
Right.
I'm not doing any sleight of hand there. I'm literally looking at the person, having them think of a name, and I just take a card and I write it down. And if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. Right? But again, I have a recovery for those things too.
Right.
Right?
You
Now,
gotta know how to be able to.
when you were there, what happened? You remember the story, right?
Well, you got all of them right.
Yeah. And I did it to who did I do it to? I did it to at the end. I did it to
Bradley.
Bradley. That's yeah, I did it to Bradley
Yeah.
and he thought of somebody, right? And he's a and right, and he calls himself a closer, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, this is gonna be the toughest character to crack.
Mm.
And then I had him think of somebody, and I forgot who it was. I think it was Danny, and I straight up got it. And like, if you watch the video, even right, you see him. He doesn't like explode in crazy reaction, but if you see him,
Right.
because he's an analyzer and because he's good at what he doesn't want to break the character because he has that look. You can see him multiple times. Like he laughs and he's like, huh. Then he does it like it keeps hitting him in the head, like he's trying to be cool, but he's really not understanding what just hit him. Because nobody ever closes him like that. Because he just got closed on that. That's what
Yeah.
happened, man. I closed
Yeah.
him, on
Yeah.
the name. And that's the mind boggle, man. But these are the type of people I perform for. I just got a call from United. They want to hire me for their event, right? And I told them I'm gonna do this whole custom thing with the planes and whatnot. So they're like, I'll get back to you. So they disappear for a week. I don't hear from them. So I'm thinking, man, that's it. I'm not booking this. They probably found somebody else or whatever. He was traveling. This is the director of worldwide sales. Got back to me. He said, look, Alex, we saw your site. We saw your videos. We spoke to you on the phone. We love everything about you. Here is what we're willing to offer, right? You are the last person we called after all the we got it because we never knew that we were gonna do something like this. We heard the name, we're like, we're gonna reach out. We threw everything in already. They're doing it at this crazy place in the city, right? Lincoln Center. I'll tell you where it is. And they're like, are you willing to work with us? Do it for us, and on top of the fee that we'll pay you, we will give you 2 round-trip business class tickets to Europe, and on top of that, we'll give you platinum status with United.
Forever?
Forever.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for you to do this thing. And I said, yeah, man, of course I'm gonna do it. Because like, who wouldn't want to work with United, get the status, get the payment, and on top of that, man, be known. That's why I do what I do here, and it's like that's the differentiator, man. I'm able to put smiles on people's faces, show them that everything they've seen in the world could be questioned, right? Provide more value by now embedding and integrating everything they have as a business into my effects, going out there, having to impress their prospects who are going to be there, their own sales managers there, right? They're flying in the CEO, is what they said. They're like, yo, listen, we're flying the CEO to watch you perform from wherever he's flying in from.
Who is he? Who is it?
I don't know. I didn't look into it, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm literally, we're supposed to connect today. I got to send him an email after I'm done with you. I'm going to send him an email. So, but these I do 300 events a year like this.
Wow.
Why would I ever go back to Merrill Lynch or something like that?
Right.
It's just not for me, man. I perform for Merrill Lynch now. As a matter of fact, most of the people that are hiring me are in financial services. Those are mostly the people, man. It's funny, I've done all the shows for everybody except for Merrill Lynch. I've done Goldman Sachs. I'm going back to do a Goldman Sachs retreat event this weekend with one of the directors. And, but I haven't done anything for Merrill Lynch. But it's the financial services that are mostly hiring me. So yeah,
If you're
man,
getting
this, I love this.
if you get 300 shows a year, do you think you need to raise?
To do less shows or to make more money on the shows I currently make?
Maybe both, because you got kids now too, right?
Well, I did raise prices.
Yeah. Okay.
I changed the packages. See, most of the guys you call, they have one package, man. Yeah, I'll come in, I'll do the show, I'll leave. All right. Me, I got like 7, 8 different ways of doing the performance. Now, look, it didn't start like this, right? I had this thing where you fake it till you make it for a long time. On paper, like if they saw on paper, I wasn't making the money that I said to people I was making or the shows that I was doing. And the reason for that is because I wanted to believe my own lie because I really wanted to get to that point, you know?
Lord of War.
Correct. And I was still doing these sophisticated, top-notch events, but I was doing it either for pennies because I really want them to hire me because you have to start somewhere, right? And or I was doing it for free. There's still tons of events I do for free, because it's for a certain cause. I either do it for a certain cause or I tell the guys, look, man, I'll do the event for free under one condition. You give me 3 people that can hire me and pay me my fee. If you give me 3 people that can hire me, pay me my fee, I'll do the show for free for you. Okay? And if you like it because I know you'll love it, I'll only contact them then. Because contacts, right? It's the contacts that I need. I need the contacts. The money's out there, man. You just got to get the right people. There's tons of people out there.
That's
Don't know
a
what to do with
sales
the money.
tactic. That's a nice sales tactic.
Yeah. And that's what I love, man. I love sales. That's why when I met you at that Grant Cardone and all that, I had no idea who Grant Cardone was. So when people saw me after, they're like, man, you know what? There's a few things you say that he says. Dude, I have no idea. I don't know. I just ran into Grant Cardone recently. This is my person. I was always like this. I always loved sales. So then when I saw that dude, and I'm like, holy shit, man, there's somebody on, this guy's funny. Like if I were to be on that level, I'll probably be like him. So,
Ash is trash. Who's your or mentalist? Do you have a favorite out there?
I think a good professional takes. I have favorites, but again, I'm going back to like my professional life, my profession, what I do. My goal was to take a little bit from this guy and apply to a little bit of what that guy does and apply it to my own personality, right? So I love David Copperfield because he's humble. I don't know if any of you have seen the show, but if you go to Vegas, he wears the same blue shirt to every single show. Now, it's not, and a lot of people think it has to do maybe with the effects he does. No, it's just he likes that shirt. He doesn't need to put on Gucci and Louis and whatever. That's him. That's how he dresses. And when he speaks, for those who are watching, could go on YouTube and type in David Copperfield vacation destination.
Vacation
And you'll see this
destination.
effect that he does. Yeah. And he does this effect, and he's doing it in front of, I don't know how many people are in the audience, man. Close to 1,000, maybe more. I don't know. Just tons of people. And he says, well, I get a lot of letters, right? And again, it's his personality. So I wanted to take that from him. Now, as much as I try to take it from him, I cannot. I can't take this from him, but I try to. He's very humble when he speaks. He goes, and I got to get into the role, right? So he goes, I get a lot of I receive a lot of letters, and particularly one letter that I found really interesting was this letter that I received from a gentleman who hasn't seen his father in over 15 years, and I tried to help him, and I have the gentleman sitting in the audience right here today. Jerome, can you say hello to everyone? Hi, Jerome. Everybody's staring at you. Everybody's watching you. But don't worry. I'm going to try to do some work. And I have a letter here, Jerome. And, this is how he speaks. Right? It's very humble. Then he does the effect and just blows everybody out of the water. He basically connects his father to him. And his father, I believe, was in the military. He didn't see someone else kid. He connects them like on this island. So they go from where they are in Vegas or wherever it was. And he takes them to like this island in Hawaii, right? And you can see on video, and he has the standard. He connects him with his father, and then he puts something. He writes before he transfers. He transports him there. He writes something on the guy's hand, right? So when he transports him there, so people don't think this is a video that was taken beforehand, right? He throws a frisbee in the air. Somebody mentions something. He writes it on there, and he transports him into that place where it has sand and there's water and there's swimming. Man, it's crazy. So I wanted to take that and combine it with another performer. His name is Darren Brown. He's a mentalist. And he talks fast, he talks quick. He goes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I want everybody to come up here. Everybody stand up, come on, up you go. And this is what gets people excited. So I took a little bit from him, right? Then I like David Blaine. There's something that I took from David Blaine as well. It's that mystery factor that he has. Wearing all black, and he's like he's this enigmatic, this character that like the Matrix. He's cool. So I took something from him, and I just combined it all. But all of them are brilliant, man. Copperfield has a great storyline. He's been doing it his whole life. He's number one magician, right? Then we have the Mentalist, who's number one, is Darren Brown. He's in England, right? And Blaine is just the craziest endurance artist, man. Nobody does what he does in the world. He's number one at what he does. And I took a little bit from all of them, and I kind of evolved. And I had this personality too, so I kicked that in.
Did you study them, or is that kind of in the past?
I studied them in the past, right? So when I started, there was no such thing as YouTube. I was just reading books. I had Blaine's book. I would read his book. I think it was called Mystery Stranger. Loved that book. Still to this day, it's one of the sickest books you could read. So I loved that. I read that, right? Copperfield, I watched him later when he was on TV. Again, it was not YouTube. I saw him. This was a later time. Um, I saw him, and it was aired somewhere. And anyways, so I took some from him there. And then Darren Brown, I found out about. I knew about him. All right, this one YouTube kicked in. Like in the first few years of YouTube, I wanted to just do research on magic, and I found so much. But then I found this guy, Darren Brown, and I'm like, man, this guy is just a genius. So I love all of them. All of them are great, and I learned from all of them.
What trick? Can you take us a trick right now? Teach us one? Or do you not
Teach you
reveal
one?
your tricks?
I mean, I have this thing, and I did a TED talk on this, right? It's floating somewhere online. So I did a workshop, and I still do it when I perform at events. So people hire me, and then not only do I perform, but then as an addition to a package, I can kind of show them not exactly what I've done during the act, but a version of it, right? Or like the beginner version of it. So to be honest, there's so much. I mean, I could do something, but uh, certain ideas are. I mean, we're limited to this, right? This is what we're limited to, right? A lot of what I do has to do with just straight up body language. Like I got to see you in order to do what I want to do. But then again, I do a lot of Zoom events, right? A lot of Zoom shows, and I'm gonna put on my watch. Where are you guys?
Florida.
You're in Florida. Okay, so you're both in Florida.
Yeah.
All right, so since you're on the East Coast, here's a question I'm gonna ask you: do you believe in time travel? Andrew took a breath, so let's see what he's gonna say. Do you believe in time travel?
I don't know. I want to,
I can
What?
go from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I travel time zones.
but
Do you believe in time travel, Joshua?
I saw Back to the Future. It can happen.
So you really think it could happen?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I really think it could happen, right? So here's what I want
Yeah.
to do. Here's what I want to do. Well, actually, you know what? Let me leave this phone, and yeah, I want you to see. I'll leave it like this, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think, because what fascinates me is not going into the future. What fascinates me more is going back. I think going back is cool. It's cool because you can change things up, right? And that could predict your next steps, your future steps. So I'll ask you, Joshua, think about a number between 1 and 10.
Okay.
Say it.
3.
3, right? Now I don't know if you can see this. Okay, that's my kids, and you can see the time. I believe it shows 11:47.
11:47.
Yeah, I want you to see this, right? 11:48 now. I want you to see this. If I go back 3 minutes, that would be 11:45, right? So I just went back exactly 3 minutes. Look at the time. What time do you have?
11:45.
Exactly, right? So we all went back 3 minutes, right? So that's quick time travel. But now, how do we go in the future? So if right now is 11:45, right? And I have exactly 11:45 because that's I'll put it like this, right? It's hard to see, but that's right 11:45. That's the time here. How do we go into the future? So I'm gonna ask you, Andrew. I'm gonna ask you, can you think of an hour, any hour in the future?
Yeah.
You going? And then
Yeah.
Joshua, think of any minute in the future.
Between 1 and 60.
Yeah. You going?
Yeah.
Perfect. Say it. What was the hour, Andrew?
2.
2. And you could have thought of anything. What's the minute?
47.
2.
No, no, no. But he said for Joshua had 47, so you had 2. So essentially, it would be 2:47. Now, if
Right.
you were here, you would see the same exact thing. I want you to see this. I'm gonna take this off, right?
Shut up. Put it in the camera.
2:47. Look at that
Boom. There you go.
on the dot, right?
I
So now we're
want
going
to.
into
I
the
want to
future.
know how you do it. I don't want to know how you do it because I just want to enjoy
There's
it.
gonna be too much to explain here because there's a lot that's involved in what I
I
do.
believe it.
So I mean, again, this was a quick demonstration. There's a storyline to all of this,
Yeah.
but
You could have like a script, and you could be a salesperson that, or you could be someone like Alex, where one deviation of a trick. However, you know you're dealing with someone different. You're like, oh, I gotta go down a different avenue to make this. I feel like that's what separates you from like just like a basic card trick.
right, yeah, because 31.
So when you were 5, you started. Who was your uncle teaching you tricks, or
No,
how
my
did you learn
father's
more?
Greg. No, my father's Greg. My uncle is Tony. Tony
Okay.
taught me. He taught me the first effect, and I went from there.
On the internet, on YouTube, on
Books. It was all
books. Okay.
books. Yeah, there was no again. Internet was there, but when I started at 5, this was 95. There really. I mean, I didn't have access to internet then,
Yeah.
right? So my parents would take me to the public library, and even with school, I went to the public library when the teacher would bring us in, and then I don't know if you guys remember this, but you as in kindergarten, you went to the library, right? You guys had it in school, and then they give you the card, the first library card. You remember that,
Yeah.
right? You get your first library card, then you had to check out a book. So what I did is I went to the magic section, and I grabbed a book from there, and it was a book on coins. And I started performing with coins. I came to my parents. I was like, "Let me get some coins." They were afraid to give it to me because at 5 years old, they thought I was going to swallow them too. I said, "Look, no, I just want to. Yeah, this is a book. I want to. I want to learn. I want to practice what I learned here in the book." So that's how I started. It was with books. Thank God it was with books because I'll tell you, the people that are starting now have easier access because they can learn a lot. But also, there's a problem, right? And I'll tell you what the problem is: the creative factor. There's no creativeness because you watch the way Alex Voss performs on YouTube, and you're like, "Oh, I like what he did, so I'm gonna copy Alex Voss." So if I teach an effect, now they're copying me. They're talking like me. They wanna perform like me. They wanna do the trick exactly like me. But there's so many ways of doing it, man. And the way I do it is I just taught myself how to do it. And with books, there's even if there are pictures, it's more of like you got to figure this thing out yourself. So you put your own twist on it. Where with YouTube, you watch a magician and they teach you, man. There's what's the twist, man? You're gonna do it exactly like them. They even talk like them. That's the problem.
Yeah, I like that. You got to be your own person. You got to find your own style. Like the way Alex talks and Andrew talks and I talk is all different. Like so, if I try to talk like any of you, people could sense that you're not being genuine. Like,
Exactly.
and Alex is just being Alex. Like this is the way he talks.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'll tell you something interesting. It never made sense to me, and this goes back to like being like successful in anything you do. Um, what did I know? Like I was a confident guy. I was always confident, but when you're doing something new, and I was always performing. But when my first show, and I was getting paid for the show, I was not as confident. As a matter of fact, my confidence was like zero. I remember in the middle of the act, I left. Like I was performing, I screwed up two effects, I left, and then I contacted my other uncle who got me the show, and I said to him, "Hey man, I had a family emergency, I had to leave." And he's like, "What happened?" Because he's family. But it was bullshit. I lied to him because what could I say? I didn't know how to tell him, "Hey man, I got scared, I left." Because I was getting paid. So it's a completely different thing when you're getting paid. Um, but the reason I was telling you this was because the question you asked, you said everyone is different, right? I never understood that phrase where people said, be yourself. I was
Hmm.
always laughing at that phrase. But what I tried to be is not myself when I was in the professional world out there performing. I try to be somebody else. And I thought this isn't what people want to see. The crazy Alex, the quick, talkative, over the top. I felt like this isn't what people were gonna pay for. I didn't know because in school people sometimes I didn't have success with certain teachers, sometimes even with girls because they thought I was this crazy. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna take that experience and play it forward, and I was gonna change myself up a bit. Little did I know, it was actually exactly who I am, is what people are willing to pay for. That's what they're willing to pay for. They weren't willing to pay. There's even times now where I try to change characters sometimes, and I go do an effect or I go do a show, and I'm calm, and I'm speaking. I'm like, all right, guys, and look, the show is great, but the energy's not there, man. I'm like trying to be like all humble and stuff, and it's just not working. So that's when I realized you got to be yourself, man. So that phrase does make sense a lot. Be yourself. People will pay you for it.
Where did you go to? Did you go to college?
Of course, definitely
Where'd
went
you
to
go?
school. School is number one. I did well in school. In the beginning, I started screwing up, and then I graduated from high school with over a 94 GPA, which was not bad compared to what my parents wanted me to be in the 99, and everyone around me was like the 99 guy, and I went to college. I went to a local college. I think that's another mistake I made. I went to Queens College, which is local. I live in Queens in New York, and I went to a college nearby. And there's two reasons why I went to that college. And again, going back to like what I could have done, I could have been in a different position I'm in right now for the better if I went to a more of a sophisticated university. I personally believe in education. I really believe. For those people that say no, education is bullshit, drop out, man. Look, you still need to know accounting. Even if you have an accountant, I think Mark Cuban said it, right? Even if you're an accountant, you still got to know accounting, right? You still got to have a grasp of the idea. So I think university and college is very important, no matter what they teach you, whether it's freaking anthropology or econometrics or price theory. It's important. So the school I went to really had no benefit on me from the professional standpoint. That's exactly what I regret. I wish I went to more of and I could have gotten into Cornell and NYU and Harvard. I know I could have, if I tried harder and different, if I had a different upbringing. There's not much I knew, and the people around me were all immigrants. Some of them were on drugs, and I was mixed up in this crowd, and I had great people, bad people, so I was like in the middle of it all. Um, but I think it's very important, man. If I went back and changed the hands of time, man, like what we just did with the experiment, if I really went back into the future years and years ago, I would have probably gone to a different university, met different people, and would have been in the position I'm in right now. I would have been better than in the position I'm in right now, and I would have had probably even more skill sets, right? So for those who are listening and if they're young, man, college, I think university is very important not just from the education standpoint, but from meeting the right people.
Yeah, totally. We chatted with Perry. Count it was Perry
Very
Calmus.
Calamus, yeah.
Yeah, kids in universities. This is your time to network.
Right.
You never that crazy kid that's at a party gonna be running a company one day, and it's like crazy. Expectedly surprise you, and so yeah, it totally makes sense on what you're
You
saying. Do
know,
you feel like
in my life, man, that was actually not the case so much. I
no?
went back with my friends recently. Yeah, we looked back at the cool kids in high school, for instance, right? And I'll tell you this: we had this place in high school used to be called 42nd Street because in the city, 42nd Street is very it's overly populated. So we had about 5,000 people in high school, 5,000 kids in high school here in New York. There's a lot of kids. It was overly crowded, man. You could not walk through the halls. If COVID existed then, man, it would have been done over there, right? So, so yeah, man, there used to be this place called 42nd Street, and between these hallways, this four-stop hallway, and all the cool kids, man, it's either they're gone, and I mean like they're dead, right? Or they did nothing with their life. About 98% of those kids, man, nothing came out of them. They were losers then, they're losers now. And the girls as well. Nothing changed, man. And I looked at high school, I looked at kids even I went to kindergarten with, man. I saw a picture of this guy earlier today, accidentally on Instagram. You know, I remember he used to be the bad boy in kindergarten. He used to punch girls in the stomach in kindergarten. We were like, what, 4 or 5 years old? You know, the kid did nothing with himself till this day. So I think there's a problem. You know, the crazy kid, yeah, maybe one of them. But it's actually the geeky kids. You know, the kids that did well in school, in just my experience, the kids that none of us really wanted to take part of, you know, as being the cool kid or wanted to be the cool kid, the people with a great GPA, those were the ones that made it far and really far with families and you know, and they're like I know this one kid, man, he used to be a professional violin player. And the guy was a genius in math. He had a 99.9 GPA. He was a geeky kid. But look, man, he went to Harvard Law, right? Everyone used to make fun of him back then. He went to Harvard Law. He has a family, you know, and like he's living the life, man. Lives in a mansion, drives the Porsche and stuff. And like everyone used to make fun of this kid. Those kids did better than the cool kids, man. Cool kids, nothing came out of them.
Cool.
Some of
Andrew,
them,
got any
some of
final
them slip
questions?
through. Some of them definitely make it. I'd agree for the most part. Most of them don't. I even
Yeah.
backtrack to my childhood, and I'm like, yeah, oh wow, that guy actually is doing all right, even though he
Yeah.
was a major head case. But yeah, getting on the
Yeah.
right track is definitely good, very good. Getting on
Don't
that
get me
track.
wrong, man. The personality is there to become successful. I agree with you. If you're like that, you know, that's what you need, especially living here in New York. You can't be a quiet person, man. I know there's a difference between Florida and New York. Like when I go to Florida, like anybody that goes to Florida from New York, man, they think everything is slow. And it is. I know it is. But I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It is slow. Here, everything's fast, 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 fast. It's moving quick, right? So I can see that while being a quick kid in school, you know, can help to set you up for success, but you need other factors, not just that. There's other things that you need, in order to go that way. Yeah. So some might have slipped through, and I don't know what you meant by slip through. I mean it as though they became successful. They were able to make
Right.
something out
Yeah.
of themselves, right? Yes.
Example, Brad was one of those guys, you know, even though I didn't know him previously. But I look up some of the kids that I grew up with, and I see one, okay, he started his own business. He looks to be doing all right. But
Yeah.
most of them, not so much. They get caught up on the drugs and alcohol, stuff
Right.
like that. And that's a big thing.
Yeah, but you got to
Um,
understand where Brad is, right? I mean, Brad, I don't know his exact story. I mean, again, I found out about the dude recently as well. From what I've seen, yes, I can see how, I remember him saying that. I can see how he was like that as well. But I believe, and look, I don't know his exact life story. I don't know what he does, you know, but I know that what I do know, and what I think at least, is he had also the right people around him. He saw what his dad, and he said the story, what his dad was doing. He realized that he didn't want to be like his father, you know. So, you know, like some people, I forgot who said it, but like some people look at their parents, for instance, and they say, my dad was alcoholic. So there's two sons, right? And the father's an alcoholic. So one of the sons became an alcoholic because his father was an alcoholic, right? The other son did not become an alcoholic. Why? Because his father was an alcoholic. You get it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's the interpretation. So like, for instance, Brad or anybody else, he probably seen like what's good, what's bad. Plus, I'm sure he was involved with the right crowd. He had to be involved in the right crowd because if they were all these jerks around him, let's say he had a bad group of friends. I mean, there has to be somehow, man. You got to take your mind off of that life and go into the life because you see the other people succeeding, whoever it is, right? So I'm sure he had that as well. Some just don't have
I'm
that.
actually reading 6 months to six figures right now, and they brought up an example exactly like that. One kid became an alcoholic, one became really
Right, I heard it
successful.
somewhere.
And
I don't
what was the
remember where.
reason? Because how could I live any other way? They both had the same answer. They went into foster care, and then they both
Right.
interviewed him 15 years later. It's a true story. It's at the end of the book of 6 months to six figures. But
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah,
6 months
that's
to six figures.
yeah, by
I'm gonna write that in.
Peter Voogd. Voogd. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. I listened to it. I'm an Audible guy. It's a few hours, not very long. But
Close to six figures. Yeah.
yeah, it's probably in the last. It's an amazing book. He just had another one come out. But
Yeah.
what's next on the agenda? What's
Radar.
United's coming up, and anything else coming up for you?
Look, I mean, yeah, I always have events, right? So I mean, like for me to just name drop all these things, I mean, I'm doing a lot of shows, so the shows are gonna kick in. The
Yeah.
biggest thing is not even the shows. The biggest thing for me is there's two satisfying factors that I have in my life. The first one is that I'm able to provide not just for my family, but I'm able to show my dad that his son did something right out of his life. He became somebody, and I'm able to throw my dad a crazy 55th birthday party. I'm able to take my mom. She loves sunsets to this insane home. That has like its own zip code with over 15 acres, and I'm gonna tell you that's rare here in New York. Overlooking the sunset and pool, everything, and catering and whatnot. I'm able to do that for my family, so I love to do that. My biggest, I'm like a philanthropist, I should say, for the family. I should say so.
Do they like that?
That part. Say that again.
Do they
They
like it?
love that.
Do they?
They love it. Yeah, they love it. They love the fact that I can do this for them, and I love it more than any of them. Like I love to do this. I love to give. It's giving that I love more than anything else. From the professional standpoint, so that's from like as more of a spiritual, emotional, family side. That's my goal to do as much as I can for my parents while they're still living, and for all the people around me. That's like my inside goal, my inside drive, right? From a professional standpoint, um, if I can, I mean, and I have other business plans because I book a lot of people for events as well,
Like
right?
where
So
the $1 million question? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
that's what I'm saying. So
Where do you
there's a
want to
Yeah.
be?
business that I want to start. So in January, I want to start this new business, and it's going to be representing others. So I want to represent other talent because talents are great, but unfortunately, they don't know how to pitch themselves. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to sell the vision. I do. So I want
So
to do
like a
that for them.
magician list,
Say that again.
like a magician label, like a record label, but a magician label. Like you know what I mean? Like a
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to be magician label so much because it's going to be representing not just magicians. I'm going to represent violinists. I'm going to represent clowns. I'm going to represent anybody of some type of talent, photographers even, right? But I have a certain edge. There's something that I'm working on. It's going to be like the secret formula to this. So that's one thing. And then where do I see myself in 5 years? If I can be represented by a top agency, have my own show in New York, doesn't have to be Vegas, right? And do partnerships, have partnerships with big brand companies where they can throw in commercials, they can throw me into movies, and they can throw me into just having even my own show. That's going to be the big thing for me. And being able to see my other business succeed, this as well, obviously, right? And hitting hard into investments, man. That's like my 5 year plan. Those are the things that I want to do. It's not driving a Lamborghini or getting a freaking top notch crazy mansion. Those aren't my big
I
goals.
saw you had a Instagram. Is that your Lambo or Ferrari or is
Which
that
which one? No,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
mine. I don't have a Lambo. I don't have a Ferrari, man. I drive a Lexus. So it's a Lexus SUV. No, I don't have
Somebody
a
else's
Lambo Ferrari.
vehicle or you made it appear?
A Lambo Ferrari. I don't know which one. I'm sure I've had both of them on there.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of times when I do an event, a lot of my clients have these cars. So they might
Yeah.
say to me, for instance, like I did something with a Lamborghini. I did an effect with a Lamborghini. So they gave me the car just so I did something and I shot a video with it, right? A
Right.
Ferrari, I have in one of my promo videos a Ferrari. That Ferrari was actually given to me by the company who I've done the event for. So I did the event for the auto company, and they had a Ferrari.
They give you the Ferrari or they give you the Ferrari to do
No, they gave me the Ferrari to just drive around. That's it.
but not to keep.
Temp- no, no, definitely not, man. That's no,
Okay.
not to keep.
I'd
No,
have
no,
been
no.
like,
Just
oh
drive
man.
around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know. So it's either I'm driving it for that being, because the client has it, or I did the effect for it with it. That's it. I think I only had like 2 videos with it, two maybe 3 at most. So no,
Yeah.
I don't have. I'd love to have one in the very future, but like again, that's not my goal. When I was younger, my goal was cars, man. Now I realize that's just like that's nothing, man. It's just a metal box.
So
You
what
know?
do you do? What do you do for fun besides that? Do you do anything?
I spend time with my kids, man. That's my fun. I
Yeah.
was just when we were supposed to link up earlier. I was with my daughter, and I'm like swinging her side to side, and I'm playing with her and wrestling with her. You know how much fun that is for me? That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To me, that's what I like to do. Spend time with my family. Go to Central Park if I need to with my family. Go there with my kids. I mean, I got tons of hobbies. I used to be on a team playing ping pong professionally. I love table tennis.
Yeah.
I kill it in table tennis, man. I kill anybody in table tennis unless you're like an Asian dude. And I don't mean to put that label on it, but bro, these Asian dudes, they're nasty, man. That's their sport.
Yeah.
So that's what I love.
We'll have to play ping pong sometime.
I'm in. I'm actually going to. You're in. Where in Florida are you guys?
Ja-
You're in Jacksonville. Okay, so I'm
North
gonna be
Florida.
in Miami. I'm gonna be in Hollywood Hills, and I have a
Okay.
tour over there actually from March 14th to. I mean, from January 14th to March 14th. I have a 2-month tour. It's just literally this tour is a private tour. It's not a public tour. It's a private tour of just I lined up a bunch of clients that I have there who are going from New York to there. Because I realize like every year my clients are going from New York, a lot of them, and living half the year there because it's cold here. So I said to
Right.
myself, you know what? Let me get this corporate month. I'll do the November to December because that's the busiest time for any performer. And then in January I'll kick in. So I just hit up every single one of these clients and I said, hey man, who wants to hire me? Let's do it. January 14th to March 14th is what I booked. So I'm gonna be there in that area, man. So if I swing around that town of yours, or maybe you come a little bit closer to me, I'll link up
Yeah.
with you.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Alex. What are you doing the rest?
No problem. Thank you so much, guys. Pleasure meeting you, Joshua. Andrews, nice seeing you again.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's
Stay
pretty
in touch,
safe
man.
that Alex with his skill sets will never be broke again.
No, never. Never, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks, Alex.
Look forward to seeing you down
Have
in
a good one.
Florida.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. I'll be
Bye-bye.
there, man. I'll hit you up when I'm there. Bye.
Solid.